I'm trying to scream from the rafters that that's what's here. And hopefully as people discover it more and they start, putting out more on social media and letting their friends know, people understand. And they come up here and I see campfires and a motocross bike on this side and your mountain bike over here and friends hanging out, roasting marshmallows, a bunch of tubes packed in the background so you can float down the river.
Welcome to Trail Effect. I am your host, Josh Blum. Trail Effect is a show that dives into the stories behind trails, the communities that embrace trails, and the people who rely on trails as a way of life. The goal of this show is to turn the stories you will hear from our guests into useful knowledge that can be applied to your community while providing some entertaining and inspirational content. Guests on Trail Effect include trail builders, board members, community leaders, volunteers, and regular people who really enjoy trails. For episode 173, we have Steve Ford. Steve is the Gravity Bike Park manager at the Luiseño Bike Park, located in San Diego County, California, on the La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indian tribal lands. We covered all things Gravity Bike Parks from Steve's experience and how this Gravity Bike Park has huge potential for Southern California. Cooley Creative is the title sponsor for this episode. They design and build custom websites, as well as help companies with branding, photography, and e-commerce. Cooley Creative was started in Wisconsin, but is now based out of Bend, Oregon. Jared from Cooley Creative is a friend of mine. We've traveled together on multiple mountain bike trips, and sometimes he sends it. For more information about Cooley Creative, head on over to www.dudejustsendit.com. Yes, that's right, www.dudejustsendit will get you to the Cooley Creative website, so check it out. As we officially kick off the summer bike park season here in North America, I would like to highlight another affiliate partner of the Trail Effect podcast, which is the Loam Pass. The Loam Pass is your one pass for 40-plus destination bike parks. When you purchase the Loam Pass, you get 2 days at each partner location, as well as an additional third day for half off. That means if you went on some epic road trip, you'd have over 80 days of access to some of the best bike parks, period. When you purchase your Loam Pass through the affiliate link found on the Trail Effect website or found in the show notes, you will receive free pass protection. Yes, that's right, free pass protection. And you'll be supporting the Trail Effect podcast as well. Some of the 40-plus destinations include Ride Rock Creek, Ride Canoga, Luiseño Bike Park, Angel Fire Bike Park, the Jolla Adventure Company, Chestnut Mountain Resort, Jared's Place, Spirit Mountain, Marquette Mountain, Burke Mountain, Howler Bike Park, and many more. So click on the link provided for the Loam Pass, support the Trail Effect podcast, and get free pass protection. Thank you. Cattle Mountain Apparel, the brand that was built by travelers, hikers, trail runners, and mountain bikers, with the motto of venture far, laugh hard. While I definitely use Cattle Mountain apparel for mountain biking, Cattle Mountain is also my go-to choice for daily wear as it is super functional and comfortable. Cattle Mountain Apparel also offers a lifetime gear repair program with the goal of extending the life of their products while reducing waste in the process. If you ever damage any of your apparel, Cattle Mountain will repair it for free for life. By using the affiliate link found in the show notes or on the Trail Effect website, a small commission will come back to the Trail Effect podcast, which helps to cover the cost of expenses for keeping this show going. Now on to the Trail Effect with Steve Ford. Here we are today on Trail Effect. I have Steve Ford. Steve is the bike park manager at Luiseño Bike Park located in San Diego County. The Luiseño Bike Park is actually owned and operated by the La Jolla Band of Luiseño Indians, which is a pretty incredible thing in itself. How's it going today, Steve? It's Friday before Memorial Day weekend, and hopefully we all get some riding in.
That's the hope. I mean, we're rocking ready here. We got all the bikes prepped, and people are showing up for the weekend.
Let's get your backstory first, because I'm fairly certain you've had a lot to do with mountain biking in the San Diego area, and maybe elsewhere, although I'm not quite sure. In a long, long time ago, back in the 90s, used to travel to San Diego County to mountain bike myself. So I'm a little bit familiar with things around there because when I was growing up, my father lived in Santee and in Escondido. So I'm a little familiar with the area.
Gotcha. Escondido is where I kind of came up.
Yeah. So let's hear, I know there's some stuff there with the Gravity Pirates and maybe some Norba racing, because that was obviously huge back in the day. I know I attended a couple Norba events out in that neck of the woods back in the 90s, both at Mammoth and at Big Bear, so I got a glimpse into the scene of what was happening in that time frame.
Gotcha. Can I give you the high level or what? Because I could talk for hours about all the guys have done over the years.
Why don't you hit on some key points and maybe some inflection points that kind of led you to where you are now?
Let's do that. So, I came up in BMX here in San Diego. That's where the biking passion started, but moved on to motocross when I hit adulthood. And so it was actually not until North Carolina that I got into mountain bikes. Kind of a natural progression, honestly, right? But I worked with the groups out there, like the Sorba chapter, to get Beach Mountain going. I saw them get Beach Mountain running, and it had the national championships a couple of years after opening. This inspired me. So I came back to Southern California, and I kind of expected the mountain bike scene out here to be progressed and, modern. And I showed up to downhillers are treated like the black sheep. There's no real downhill parks. Even the only downhill lift park being Snow Summit, they would weigh your bike. You have to put your bike on a scale and put your tires in a box of wood to show that they're not too wide to try to keep out downhill. It was really weird to me, and it just shocked me into doing something. So I tried to copy some of what I learned from those amazing guys out in North Carolina and started a group out here. That's the Gravity Pirates. Launched that. I knew guys needed to know each other and talk so you can create a community. That's the only way things are going to happen. So I did that. Put on lots of events throughout the year, little underground races. It was good. I eventually created a nonprofit along with that called GCI. And that's how I could do a lot of my advocacy work. Gravity Pirates is the group. We're fun. We're riders, but we all also care. And a lot of us really want things to happen. So through the Gravity Pirates and GCI, I started pushing to open parks. That was a goal of mine, to get a San Diego area bike park. I built Mount Waterman Bike Park. So that's up in LA. I know it's not San Diego, but I was knocking on the doors up there trying to kind of change what's happening at Snow Summit by adding a real bike park up there. And as I got Mount Waterman approved, that's right when Gravity Logic started working with Summit and creating a real bike park. So that was awesome. And, fast forward to about 2017, I was really pushing to find a place here in San Diego that we could have downhill friendly trails, right? Shuttle, lift, access trails. Just has never happened for whatever reason. And I thought that a tribal atmosphere seemed to make sense for both liability and expediency to make it happen. This was one of the park places I pitched that I was happiest about. I was excited. I grew up in Escondido, like I told you, and this is my local place I would go to for camping, come up and ride my tube down the river and laugh with friends. I grew up coming here. So when they were excited about my plan, my big proposal on their screen, they got excited, I got excited, and it was great. We were off and running. There's been a lot of hiccups since then, and others involved coming in. You know how it could be. Red tape and problems and politics. But in the end, here I am. They came back to me, a year and a half ago and said, project has gotten to this point. We've got some trails. We got things here and there. Can you come back and kind of make it work, piece it together? And I said, absolutely. We made a deal. I came back. I brought my family. So both my sons are here. I got my oldest son that's managing the shop. My other son is the mechanic. So they're both passionate about this place like I am. We don't count the hours we put in. We just work and we enjoy it. So it's been a long process to get to here where we have 10 trails. If you look behind me here, this background, that's the actual trail map for here at Luiseño Bike Park. The potential is what everybody talks about, right? They show up and see the place and ride it. And they're like, oh my God, it's a real mountain. It's not like a little hill somewhere. Somebody built some trails. This is a mountain, and the potential to put 30 plus trails here and spread out is big. It should be taken that way for San Diego. So as you can tell, I'm still very fiery about this and spend all my free time and work time doing this.
Yeah. And I know I had mentioned that I had spent a little bit of time out in that region. I know way back in the day, I remember going mountain biking in a little town called Julian.
Oh yeah.
And you'd go through Ramona to get there. And
you definitely do. I mean, we go up there to have that apple burger at the Julian Cafe often.
Yeah. Is there still, and this is kind of sidetracking quick, but this is just, I guess, my own personal inquiry. Is there still a fair amount of mountain biking up in the Julian area or not? Because I remember back in the 90s, there was a bike shop up there, but it was a very small community, if I remember right.
So the mountain bike community for that area would be more towards Alpine, Pine Valley. They go up towards Julian to hit things like Noble Trail, which is kind of the jewel of San Diego. If people are visiting, you take them out to Noble Canyon and ride that. It's a bit of an epic ride day. But are there a lot of variety up there? Again, there's a lot of hidden trails, ones I won't talk to you about, right? But if you know people and you can go up and ride, then there's plenty to do.
Well, let's get back to your bike park. You mentioned that there's a lot of, I don't know what's the right way of saying this. Maybe some hiccups along the way. Like, what are some things that you learned through those hiccups without going too deep into the details that kind of brought it to where it is now, or to your September 1st opening date?
I think it's just like a lot of things in life. You start off with a plan and then things get sidetracked. It'll all come back to how much you want that finish line. And for me, the goal was a bike park for San Diego, right? So different parts along the way, whether even I'm involved, I stepped out for a couple of years while politics went a different direction and tried to build it a different way. And for me, it's still moving towards a bike park. So, whatever, however it gets done, let's do it. And if I needed to step in the end to get something across the finish line, I'm happy to do it. I know people like, good folks at the SDNVA, same thing. They got involved and tried to help out because we all want just more for San Diego County. And this is a big deal that they've never had.
I have to ask, what were you doing when you weren't before the bike park? Like, what was your profession?
Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I have a business up in Victorville, 70, 80 employees. I have a transportation company. I'm a commercial broker. I did real estate for 20 plus years. That helped with some of the land issues when I'm doing things. And then I'm actually even opening a Jamba Juice in 2 weeks right now in Imperial County. Been working on that a couple of years. We got one coming that's also a drive-through Auntie Anne's and Jamba Juice in El Centro. So yeah, I'm always doing businessy things. That's what I've done since I became an adult and started an auto services type business. But this came along. I was actually in San Francisco when this came back on my plate. So luckily I was headed back down south and I could jump on board.
Nice. So you weren't even really living there at the time when this came back on your plate.
I was freshly headed back. I actually was transferring one of my businesses from San Francisco down to San Diego. As that's happening, I'm getting a call back from powers that be here asking me about my interest in stepping back in. So it was definitely serendipitous, good timing, and I was excited to see some of the building that had been done before me was done well. Not everything's perfect, but it could have been a real problem, right? If we had nothing to go on, but there were some really good bones here. Credit to guys who were digging here before me, after me, during me, whatever. There's a lot of guys in the middle that were working hard and they did good. Even when I got in here, I tried to bring some of those guys back. We got a couple of guys that were working before here back on my crew. So let's go. Anybody that's excited, feels like we do about this park, let's do it. Yeah, I made the deal with them basically to be bike park manager, even though I'm developing and managing the park at the same time, kind of an all-inclusive role. But I like to have my fingers on everything because I care about the future here.
Let's talk about how this bike park fits into the larger scope of the La Jolla Adventure Park, because I'm sure a lot of people are not, people that listen to this that aren't familiar with San Diego, what actually you have there at the broader picture of the La Jolla Adventure Park.
That's the perfect question to ask, because Adventure Park, what it has, and again, I'll use that word potential, but there's a lot that's already here. It's not just potential. The zip lines are here. They've been operating for years. They closed down for the winter, about to come reopen. But that's zip line. The campground, I mentioned that before. This is the best campground in Southern California I've ever been to. A really nice river that you tube down, 100-year-old oak trees. You're really out away from everybody and everything up here. Fantastic campground. That's number 2. That's here. Third, the water park that existed here in the 90s has been revived. They put in new pools, new slides. They got the big slides done literally last week. It's opening for the first time in 30 plus years this weekend. So Memorial Weekend right now, it's opening. That's 3. Now you got a water park here. Not part of the fold is a motocross track, the Imago motocross track. Some people might hear that and go like, hey, I know that place. That's here. It's not well taken care of or anything right now, but it's getting under new management. So that's actually being brought into the fold of all this adventure park. Soon you can come up here with your bike for the mountain bike park, your motocross bike for the motocross track. Your kids can go play at the water park while you're here. You can float down the river with your friends, campfire at night. I mean, if you're an outdoor person, it's paradise. This is the place to be. So people hear all these things and we tell them that it exists in San Diego. They don't even know what you're talking about. It's a complete shock to people. So I'm trying to scream from the rafters that that's what's here. And hopefully as people discover it more and they start, putting out more on social media and letting their friends know, people understand. And they come up here and I see campfires and a motocross bike on this side and your mountain bike over here and friends hanging out, roasting marshmallows, bunch of tubes packed in the background so you can float down the river. It's perfect.
What's the actual proximity to what I'm going to say the metro area of San Diego? Because San Diego County I think it's a big county and a lot of people probably don't realize that as well.
That's true. And, they will know Escondido and they will know Temecula. So if you give it about 30 minutes from each, that's what it is. And you can also just say Palomar Mountain. People are like, oh, Palomar, they've been to the observatory. So this is at the base of Palomar Mountain. If you're headed up towards Palomar Mountain, at the base, we're the only thing out here. Suddenly there's a gas station right in the middle of nowhere. That's us.
Let's get into the details of your bike park. So from what I could find based on the trail map and some other stuff, you have 2 main trails that feed a hub with 4 additional trails. Let's talk about how that functions today and then maybe how that is planned to function in the future if you have future plans off of those 2 trails in that hub.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. You guys will see that map like behind me as I try to step out of the way a little bit and see the shuttle road heading up to the top. And these are the 2 trails that you just mentioned. So as you get out of the shuttle rig, you have these 2 trails that you can take all the way over to the hub. The hub is where they reconnect. And from there, you have 4 different trails to choose from going down. So if that makes sense, all together, 10 plus miles of trails. I'm a jumper. I come from that BMX background. All of us here are riders. So we try to make it fun. There's lots of optional hits everywhere. So people might come here and maybe avoid a green trail, but these are green trails built by dirt jumpers. So you can go down it and you can ride it as green. Your buddies that don't jump can have a good time and it's great flow on the trails, but you can be right next to them hopping off of things and jumping onto the sidewalls. We try to make it friendly for groups of varying skill level to be able to ride together. I think that's a philosophy I've always kept. The hub is a great place to stop. You've ridden for a couple of miles now. Your arms are getting kind of tired. You can stop there, get off, and there's a big jump line that we built that's right next to that hub. It's called Stonehenge. We just launched it not too long ago. And these are big jumps. These are, not everybody's going to be doing these. The first one is a big gap that jumps over the trail down into towards the canyons. This will eventually be built all the way to the bottom. So we're talking 40 plus huge jumps all the way. This is the A-line killer. Trying to make something that people will travel out of state to go to just because of this trail. That's my goal. We got the start of it there done. We got the bottom of it that I'm still finishing building. I sit on the tractor myself right now, building the bottom line. And they'll connect in the future. So I know I'm rambling on about that, but hopefully that gives you some idea about what's here in these 4. We do have one expert trail right now, and it's a true expert. Everybody gets to the top of that. They look down the rock wall and they go, that's not what I saw online. That can't be what I saw online. And it is a bit of a squirrel catcher to keep people off the black trail that wouldn't have fun going down it if you sucker them in with something easy.
Is there a climbing trail adjacent to the shuttle trail, or is it only accessed by shuttle?
You're reading my mind. We just launched our first up trail just a couple weeks ago, actually. So it's called Eagle Peak. Eagle Climb. It comes right out from the same place that we shuttle from. So you can just skip the shuttle and ride up that. It is steep and some definite 180s that make it fun and tough to climb. But if you got an e-bike, it's e-bike friendly. If you got an analog, you better be someone like Luca Cometti who can zip right up that thing. But that's not me. I'm e-biking that thing.
How long is it? And how much elevation is it covering?
So that's the issue too. It only goes to the hub at the moment. So, in, the center. So you get access to those 4 trails plus, Stonehenge. Eventually it will go all the way to the top. Just there's so many things to build here that I can only do what I can do when I can do it. But at least it does get people up to the hub. They have an option besides waiting on the shuttle. Sometimes you just want to get up and not ride the shuttle truck all the way up. And I get that. I do that sometimes. So to bypass the shuttle, zip up to the hub, have 4 trails access and the jump line. I think it's a good addition to the park. When it goes to the top of the mountain, I think the pedal passes will be pretty popular here because we try to make the up trail fun as well as the downhill. So I even picture, I don't know about you, but I have an e-bike and I enjoy the tough climbs and the hard rocky climbs. And I don't know why there isn't more racing on uphills with these e-bikes just to add to the challenge. So I think that's a future here too.
As we both, I don't have an e-bike and it's only because, and I actually haven't even really ridden an e-bike. And it's really only because I know that as soon as I ride one, it's going to be another bike that I have to purchase right away. Yeah. And I don't, for my regular day-to-day riding, an e-bike isn't truly necessary where I live. And so that's probably one of the main reasons why I don't have one. But as parks like this that both offer shuttles, but also parks like, you mentioned North Carolina early on, and I've mentioned this bike park a lot of times in this podcast, which is Ride Cayuga. The pedal parks are becoming a lot more of a viable option and a very good, avenue for people to both do a business venture, but also for people to go, take their e-bike because it pretty much is it's a shuttle / chairlift for you.
That's exactly it. It's a self-shuttling device, right? So, and you mentioned the business aspect for it. It can bring bike parks in closer to population. So that's a great thing for all mountain biking. I like it. It's fun. I know some people, there's a lot of debate about e-bikes and stuff, and I'll leave them to that. But anything that's 2 wheels and a good time, I'm always going to be behind. So the only thing I don't allow here would be throttle. So if you've got a throttle on that bike, I don't care what kind of bike you call it, we can't have that. And that's just mostly because of berms. I ride motocross, so you and I both know you get into a berm with a bike that has a throttle, you're throttling from the middle of the apex out, right? And that tears up berms. So we can't have that out here. It's got to be pedal assist. But other than that, I'm good with it.
Well, and there's a motocross track there.
And there's motocross. Bring it over there. Have fun over there.
So there's no reason to bring your non-pedal assist bike to the park.
No, exactly right.
Speaking of trails, so what is your ideal setup the way it is currently in terms of like the type of bike that is probably going to be the most user-friendly? Are we talking like a modern trail bike, an enduro bike? Is it best to bring a straight downhill bike? All of the above?
Yeah, kind of all of the above, but it's such a mix here. Because of how this was built in waves, you have a couple sections that have some flat areas. Even if you take one of the trails from the top, the last third of it is a slight uphill all the way to the hub. So you don't really notice that much with an e-bike, but you do on a hot day with an analog bike. So what kind of bike is perfect here? I honestly think an enduro bike, something that's jumpy, is a great thing to have. If you're a jumper, you want to have that suspension. There's some bigger stuff out here and some good rock gardens. So I wouldn't want to feel handicapped by not having that. So an aggressive enduro e-bike, I think, is the ideal bike.
Yeah, that's sounds like e-bike is the way to go. Which I mean, honestly, I don't have any personal qualms against them. I think they're awesome, and they just unlock so many possibilities. In fact, I was just in a community a week ago down south, and we did a drop group ride, cross country group ride, and there was e-bikes in the mix as well, and everyone was welcome. I will say that I learned that you do not want to let the e-bikes get in front of you if you're on an analog bike, because they can slack off a little bit and let gaps go and then close them pretty easily. Whereas if you're on an analog bike, closing that gap is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, no, that's an issue. Multi-trail user, right? So it used to just be horses and hikers and bikers, but now among the bikers, it's e-bike and non-e-bike. Sometimes there can be some back and forth, right? That
was an awesome ride though. Let's go into your build crew and your maintenance crew, because you have a regular full-time staff there, if I'm not mistaken. And kind of let's talk about like what they're doing, how the park gets maintained, because I think that's another very awesome benefit to a a pay-to-play bike park is that regular maintenance that you don't always get at volunteer trail networks, we'll say.
Right. When we're about to open the park, which, as we said, did we say that for September 1st is when we opened. I put together a trail crew the month before that. And so all during summer, it was me, it was my boys, it was hiring locals, and it was just pushing ourselves. But then I really got a local group that's known for digging up in the hills, the hush hush trails. I really wanted to get them involved, probably my Gravity Pirates background. I just know that it's great to have the locals who actually work on the trails that we already love, have them involved in this project. So brought them out and others. We had a good crew going. As winter wound in towards January, we had to suspend anything trail crew operated because so much rain was dropping. We literally were closed more than we were open for winter. So it was just money pouring out. And we know how that can go here in the political world on the tribe. So we had to tighten our belts. But that's all changed now. The weather has changed. So our main operator was out here with me last weekend, Drew. We're drawing up our plans, and he was helping out on the jump line. So hoping to have him back in the full time here shortly and build a little crew under him again. So excited to get them back going. There's plenty to do here. As you mentioned, it's wintertime is the time to build. So for me, it was frustrating not to be able to continue building throughout winter. I'm watching this nice wet dirt up here. And I'm like, oh my God, the things we could be doing right now. But I have to understand we're freshly open. This is a new thing for the tribe. They've never done this before. So they see money going out the door and they're just like, what's happening? So I'm like, okay, let's cut down on the developing right now. Let's just operate what we've got until we can operate every weekend, bring in money, then get the trail crew going again. That was the plan. So it's working out. Like I said, we're bringing it back now. Drew's the mastermind behind things like Stonehenge that everybody's enjoying right now. The trail crew built that, but before they left, they even came back when they were off. They knew they were going to be off for a few months, and they still came back that next week, getting ready for the opening of it, just because of their passion for the sport. And they were out there on the opening weekend with the sponsors, and I was able to talk about them and praise their work. So good folks. Hope they're available. I hope they're all available to come back when I can bring them all back next month.
Well, I will say it was a really odd winter for San Diego. Like I'm a pretty big fan of Supercross, and there was more rain races this year, and San Diego being one of them, than I think remember in a whole host of years.
Very rainy. Yeah, it was a lot. Again, you want the water for building, right? But it's a catch-22.
And you do want the water for California too, because you guys need water.
You definitely have that. And here we have the top of the mountain. We're not to the top of the mountain yet. So there's another 400 plus feet of elevation we're going to gain when we finish our road to the top. And that's going to extend all the trails up. I do have almost 30 trails on my map that are waiting to be built. So when we come out, I sit with Drew and the guys, and we're like trying to prioritize what's important. But there's so many, we want to build them all right now. We've got years of building in front of us. This is going to be an extensive bike park. And just found out yesterday, it looks like the funding is coming through for the paving on the shuttle road. I know that right now that people's ears in San Diego are ringing because they've been waiting for that. It's a bumpy road to the top. To be able to relax and have a smooth paved ride up is going to be amazing for everybody. And yes, the plans to build a lift are still moving forward, but that's a longer term thing, right? So when that's happening, it looks like more towards next fall that we start putting in the engineering on that. But that funding is actually on the table too.
Well, let's talk about more of the details of the future expansion. When it's all said and done, and you have that additional 400 feet, what will your top to bottom vertical be?
Right now, we're dropping in right at 3,600 feet. So 3,930 is like the top, where I'm standing, where I want like the lift to drop off. And at the bottom, you're at the bottom of everything, just under 24.
So 15 to 1,600 feet is...
There you go. Just checking your math on that one. So right past the very bottom where we have our airbag jump, it's just below 2,400 feet. So it's a good amount of vertical. And building some of these trails that don't go to the hub, the ones that'll go from the top just to the bottom, that's forearm burners there.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So in terms of future trails, if everything goes as you would like to see it go, what are you going to add for trails in terms of diverse trail experiences? Like what kind of things are you looking to add to really draw on a good cross section of riders?
I don't pretend to be the first person doing this. I try to lean on the pros. People in Gravity Logic, Dave Kelly, these guys, amazing. They helped me in the past with places like Mount Waterman. When I did that, they're giving me paperwork and all kinds of information. So I try to not reinvent the wheel and copy success. Their model of 70% intermediate, 20%, I follow that model. So building these trails and planning them, I'm trying to keep it that way. It keeps everybody happy. I want to build a bunch of double black diamonds. I love rocks. I love jumps, but I'm not building this park just for me. So I follow the Gravity Logic model. What works for Whistler works here. If I want to build a double black, I've got to have, 2 intermediates to match that and a green.
So is there going to be a top of the world then? You said Whistler, so top of the world stopped, totally jumped into my brain.
Yeah, if I could have them bring their mountain down here so I could have that much elevation, I'll definitely have a top of the world. But I did copy a lot of there. You heard me mention A-Line before. I'm a big fan of everything they've done up there. They kind of started a lot of things off, in my opinion. So top of the world, yes. From the very top, I really think the extension of our 2 main trails, Bear and Coyote. I think Coyote is going to be hugely popular. It already is. But with the extension of that, adding another half mile to it, that's going to be the kind of almost like a beeline at Whistler, but with more rocks. So, Whistler has beeline. You can warm up for the day on that. And it's just a lot of tabletops. Yes, we'll have a lot of jumps, but we have rock sections too. So an intermediate trail with jumps with rock gardens that's long, I think that's a big hit.
And you did mention chairlift as well. So that's, people listening to this, I think, have a little bit of awareness around what kind of expense actually goes into something like that. So when you say chairlift, like those, you can't take those words lightly, right?
No, it's true. Brought out some of the best out here to get quotes. They've flown out here to look at our situation on site. So it's been great to get, firsthand knowledge from folks who build these, especially summer lifts. And we can actually build in the time of year where they normally are pretty quiet. So that benefits us financially a little bit. But base level, we're talking like 5.2 million and more like 8.5 million to get something in that's a detachable 4x high-speed lift. So plenty of options to choose from, but the attachments are amazing these days. I'm excited to see all the progression that works better for bikes. I've watched it happen over the years. Taking my sons to the parks all over the place and, loading their bikes for them and me getting mine on. I know the struggles, and to see the high tech stuff coming along today, watching those things detach and the bike just pops off. And I'm like, people have it too easy. I want to bring that here. That'll be awesome. Funding is available. And, the Council of the Tribe here has been fantastic. Again, they're not bikers. So they've just been like trusting that this is going to work and allowing us to be here and building all this on their mountain. This is their mountain, right? This is not, I don't own this place. You don't own this. This is tribal land. So you got to be respectful and know this is their territory. It's their homeland. The fact that they like this project and they've allowed this to happen and expand is a credit to them. And I want to make it work, not just for the riders now, but I want it to work for the La Jolla Band of Indians.
Well, I guess the next obvious question that popped into my head is, are you turning any of them into riders?
Yes. Oh, we just, what was it? Just a few weeks ago, Rachel Strait came out here to help coach on her own time. It was awesome. We took the kids from the school here on the tribe. This La Jolla class came out. They were very shy. It was all the kids. They didn't want to talk at first. By the end of the day, after she put them through the paces with coaching and took them up, some of them up on the trail to actually ride down, they were loud and couldn't wait to come back. And I think that is a key. So I'm definitely working with the education department here, trying to get more local youth into this sport. It's active, it's healthy, and it gets them out onto their mountain so they can see what they have.
There's a couple of good stories out there about how the Native Americans have really started to embrace mountain biking within this country. You got the Cherokee Indians out in North Carolina. You've already mentioned North Carolina. I'll mention them again. They got Fire Mountain going on.
Ecotourism is important. A lot of these tribes don't have some of the resources that other tribes have, right? Being near a population so you can build a casino, that's a little bit of luck. They didn't choose that. So if you're far away from that, you need to use what you have in your surrounding to bring people in. You've seen some of the tribes. What's the name of the tribe up there by the Grand Canyon that built that skywalk that you walk out on? That's amazing. It draws people like crazy now. It takes investment and it takes vision, but these tribes that are focused on ecotourism do well. And that's what we're doing here. What does La Jolla have? La Jolla has this mountain that when I walk up to the top, nobody knows this. They're going to find out when we build at the top. But nobody knows this. You climb to the top of this mountain and I look to the west, I'm looking at ocean views, about 40-degree wide ocean views, Catalina, San Clemente, all the way down towards San Diego. And I'm going, what are we doing? Like that, this is such a resource. Can you imagine a sky deck out there with chairs and the sun setting over the ocean while you're sitting on your mountain bike park? Like, it's just a no-brainer to me. So yes, I want the lift for the bike park, but I'm really focused on it being good for the tribe as a whole. I think the campground will really use that to bring people up to the top. We have hiking trails all over the top with nature signs and all that. They can hang out, buy a hot drink, and watch the sunset.
Yeah, and this is also, another way to just connect with the land. It's modern. It's a modern way to connect with the land, to grow an appreciation for the land around us, and to understand why it's important to have these lands available.
It's huge, and being here, I came here from the bike park perspective, but being here for the time I have, I talk with the general council here and the council, and I learn a lot about their culture, and it amazes me and it's intriguing to me. So I know it would be for others. I want to see more development and showing off of the culture and the history for the La Jolla, the Luiseño band of Indians here. I think people would be just as intrigued as I am. So I talk about having signs and things for cultural, not just for nature, I think would be important. And I think you, same as me, right? When you hear about some of their history, it's always intriguing.
It is always intriguing. I've been able to have the Cherokee Nation, a couple podcasts on the Cherokee Nation. I was totally intrigued with everything that I was able to learn. And it led me to digging even deeper, via the internet, to just educate myself on, some of the stuff they went through, but also some of their cultures and some of their customs that they really want other people to know about. Exactly. So, and to be clear, I know I said a few different words there. People ask me, I want to be clear, this is the La Jolla band of the Luiseño Indians. There's lots of Luiseño bands here. This is the La Jolla band of the Luiseño Indians. So you can look up online and learn some of the culture before coming, maybe. But yeah, like you, I think that's, it has to be represented here. Bike park shouldn't come in and just be like an outside thing. It's integrated. It's their land. So it really should show off who they are and what they are. And it's theirs. Like you mentioned, I want to get them out here more often, riding on their trails. Yeah, that's the story you just said about Rachel Strait and the kids being pretty shy at the beginning and then opening up at the end. It's such an integral part for all kids these days. And the fact that you can integrate in that with their education system is just that's pretty special. It is. And, great. It didn't take much outreach at all to get people from the mountain bike world to jump in and be involved. And Rachel was just the first of many that were ready, willing, and able to come out and help out. So the bike park community here is great. I should say bike community here is great. We're having a big SDMBA event here shortly. That'll be good. That just shows involvement from everybody in the bike industry going, we want and need this bike park to work. The tribe wants the bike park to work. So it's going to be pretty amazing to watch this all develop next few years. I was just going to ask you next about events. So what do you guys typically, what are your short-term events, and then maybe big picture, what are you aiming for? We've had a couple of small events that we put on ourselves. We've had a couple races. We've had more races canceled due to weather than we've had races that happened, which has been frustrating. But the ones we did put on, they went smoothly. Timing literally done by my son, Trevor, and myself, top to bottom, and volunteers for trail officials. But we wanted to learn how it's going to go out here in our communications, because there were some radio issues. So it was all about working out the kinks. But now that we've done that, it's time to have the real events. Luca Cometti has been out here and designing an enduro
that we'd like to do. And as you know, he's Mr. Enduro and he loves it. So he's designed what he thinks is a really great 5-stage enduro race here. We put the hold on that to try to make sure we do it right and get the right sponsors involved and get the logistics correct. I think the first experience matters when people show up to a race. We want them to have a good time and everything works well. So we're getting that lined up, but he's got the plan. He's ready. He's not the hold up. We are. So Tom Spiegel's been out here. He just came last week from Big Bear. A lot of experience there. They put on more races than anybody else Team Big Bear does. So he's seen the mountain now. Use the word potential again when he sees it. Everybody goes, wow. So we'll be putting something together with him as well.
And then how about your days and hours of operation and the cost? And I also know that you're part of the Loan Pass. We'll talk about that in a second, though.
Yeah, that we definitely are. So we're open now. We just expanded to 5 days a week. So it's Thursday through Monday, opening at 9 o'clock each day. I'll say right now, our last shuttle is at 4:30, but that floats throughout the year. Keep in mind. So check the website as the times change and the sun changes. But 9 o'clock is opening time, Thursday through Monday.
I have to ask this out of curiosity. Are you open on Mondays? Because a lot of motorcycle shops and some bike shops are closed on Mondays.
You know why we actually open on Mondays originally is because we have to be here anyways to do like a cash drop with the tribe, the finance department. There's reasons to be here anyway. And we have refined our operation. Like we are extremely efficient. So we were able to open and operate this with literally like me and Trevor, and maybe bring in one shuttler. So we're like, why not? If we're here and we're building it, let's say nobody shows up to ride for the day. Him and I are up there digging all day. So we're busy here digging or running shuttles, regardless of whether people are here or not. So why not have it open? People show up to ride, we'll take you up.
You just totally reminded me that I forgot to get into the details of your current shuttle service. We talked about chairlifts and stuff in the climbing trail, but let's talk about the details of your shuttle service with the exception of the fact that you've already alluded to the fact that the road will get paved.
That's true. So yeah, that right now they got that bumpy road, but downhillers that ride downhill, we ride bumps for fun. So not everybody is put off by the bumpy road, but our current fleet is we have a truck, a regular truck, flatbed, that pulls a trailer, one of those huck wagon trailers you've probably seen. That's the most comfortable ride up. It has bench seating in the bed of the truck and then pulls your bike. The other two trucks are big commercial stake bed trucks. Those would be the type where we have a ramp that you walk up into the bed and you put your front wheel over the side of the stake bed and you just stand in the stake bed, do a bit of a hayride to the top kind of thing. But at least those are high capacity. So, we can take 30 people per truck in those big trucks, max out at about 20 for the smaller truck. And then, when we're light, we'll run people up in the Ranger. We've got a 6-bike rack on the back of our Polaris Ranger. Everybody wants us to run that all the time because, it's a blast. It's a ride in itself. People talk about make a VIP pass. We'll pay extra just to ride on that thing. You're up there quicker. It's smoother and it's fun. That's our full range. That's those 4 vehicles. And I think we probably run the truck that pulls the trailer 75% of the time.
That'd be an interesting experiment to see what the price of the VIP pass would need to go up to actually get people to think twice. Because I'm guessing that if you priced it right, you're going to have a lot of people buying VIP passes and you'd be over capacity, right? Yeah,
it's a logistical challenge and a labor challenge because you need a driver for just those 5 people. Right? So the VIP extra pass has to pay for that driver doing it. And then he's also got how does he wait for folks, right? Like if 2 different groups of people, 2 and 2, and they're going different times down the mountain, and you get to the bottom, like do you just take these 2 up and these 2 show up later and have to wait? Because they bought a VIP shuttle, you have to wait for everybody to show up before you bring them back up. So it's a logistical and labor issue, a challenge for us. That's probably why I haven't launched that. But if I could figure it out, if I was smart enough to figure out a good way to make it work, I definitely would. People love that.
I'm glad that you're going into the nuance of like how a shuttle operates, because I think that provides some context into like what it takes to really figure out how to operate one of these shuttle parks.
It's a challenge. So all through last summer, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make this all work. With the resources you have, you got to use what you have and go out and scrounge and buy what you don't have. So this is what I could put together. A little bit of copying what I've seen at places like Bootleg Canyon and elsewhere. that, you see it works, right? How can we get people up and not just, can't wait 5 years for a lift to be built, right? We've got to get people up the mountain. And this was the most efficient way that I could feel I could get people up there. And yeah, you mentioned the challenge. From opening weekend, there were some struggles with the bikes, even like trying to rub on things. And I stayed up till midnight, multiple nights in a row during the week with welder they used to work at DVO. Anyways, I had people from the bike industry showing up with their welding equipment and their time, and we're just doing what we can to try to fix the issues. We put in these braces so that the side gates don't even move anymore. I built this coping type of plastic pipe system to go across the top of them, and then commercial flooring on top of that, then Fox pads covering all of that. So trying to make it where it's just perfect. There's no bike issues and everything's stable. And by that next weekend, it was all together, ready to go. Everybody jumped to make it happen. Awesome. But yes, if you're not passionate about this and willing to jump in and take on the challenges, it's probably not on you to be able to open a new park, because you're definitely going to have things go ways you don't plan. You're like, I bought the truck, I copied something that works, so I'm done. You're not done. You're going to, burn midnight oil for the next few nights trying to make it actually work.
Yeah, and there's still some really good examples out there of shuttle parks that are working really well. You look at Windrock, you look at Rider Rock Creek, Jared's Place, Howler Bike Park in Missouri. I mean, all those places have shuttle bike parks. And for the most part, they're probably going to remain shuttle bike parks, because I don't think any of those places are talking chairlifts. Well, maybe Howler. Howler has said chairlift in the past.
Yeah, not a whole lot of elevation at Howler, right? But they're awesome. I love their design, and their use of the tin can homes to try to make their bike shop and everything is amazing. I think they took what could be a negative and made it a positive. It's part of their marketing, in my opinion. So very impressed by what I see at other places. I'm inspired by them. I try to copy what works over here. Again, I'm newer to this than a lot of people. So I really try to find the smarter people in the industry and glom onto them, do what works for them.
Let's quick talk about your pass costs and your integration with the Loan Pass, because we had the Loan Pass as guests on here, and they just recently announced that they're now up to over 40 resorts and shuttle access parks as part of the Loan Pass. So I think that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's very cool. And of course, as you know, they're riders. So not just riders, fast riders. So they came out, rode the park, had a good time. And that's key. They come out and see these parks. I love that. They want to know what they're partnering with. It was great. Between you and I knew I was going to partner with them before they even came out. So it was great. I wanted to be with them. I love these guys. But, it's a business. So we did have to have them out and do that. I hope it grows for them. I think it will. I like the model. Didn't catch that with you. I'm definitely, after this, I'm going to go watch your interview with them. But great guys.
Yeah. And what are your, outside of Loan Pass, your daily rates are?
So about $50 for, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday also. We have different varying levels, like afternoon, you can save $10 if you come out. Our midweek being, Monday and Thursday, about $10 cheaper also. We have military discounts, child pass discounts. You're going to get down to like $35 for a kid. So go online, definitely check the website, just Luiseño Bike Park. You can Google it. That's the easiest way. Instead of typing in one thing, just Google Luiseño Bike Park. It'll pop up. It's one of the top two. Check those rates there. Don't forget to rent your mountain bike ahead of time before you come out. We've got a great fleet of rental bikes here by Norco, but we don't have a million bikes either. So on our busy weekends, nice to lock it down ahead of time. Get your $50 pass, get your electric or pedal bike, either one you want. You can lock in and come out and have some fun.
Yeah, and we'll put the link to that in the show notes as well, so people can get that link out of the show notes if they don't Google it. But both places work great too. One of the questions I ask everybody before we depart is, what are your ideal amenities for a mountain bike community? I say that in a sense of say you had to move and you could pick anywhere else, and I don't mean you have to pick an actual location, but what are the things you would look for to be in a location that are prime for you for a mountain bike community? And you can make this up too. It could be these ingredients would make that community up. It doesn't have to actually exist.
Southern California is kind of where all things started for motocross, BMX. this is such an inflection point for everything. This is where I want to be. I ran up there to Mount Waterman because I like how close it is. You talk about proximity to LA, and that's a big metropolis. But this is home. This is where BMX started. This is where I want to be. Would I like us to be even closer to everyone? I don't know how you could get this remote, because you want to be out in the mountains and away from everything. I don't know how you can get this remote and not be exactly this far away. You're an hour drive from the furthest place in San Diego. Yeah, that's way better than driving all the way up to somewhere like Snow Summit. That's 2.5-hour drive. It's local. So I think this is it. This is where I want to be. I wouldn't move it. I think it's in an ideal location, and more people just need to discover it.
So I guess what I'm hearing is you're currently building your mountain bike destination community.
This is the place to be. This is it.
Well, before we wrap this up, are there any key thank yous that you want to throw out there for how this is becoming a reality?
I mean, first and foremost, the La Jolla Band and the Luiseño Indians for having us here, inviting the mountain bike community to come in. That has to be number one. Groups like the SDMVA, countless individuals that have come up and helped out. Even, I can mention Cody Johnson coming out to ride and lending his ideas for dual slaloms, and Luca, of course, giving his time and energy to get ready for. I could just go on and on. The folks. I have to mention my own family here. So my sons, Trevor Ford and Connor Ford. Trevor he's as passionate as me about it, maybe even more. I don't know, but he jumps in and runs everything with me. This probably couldn't run without him. Don't tell him I said that. And then
he's going to ask for a raise now.
Yeah. Keep that one. Maybe cut that out after this. Just cut that part out. I didn't say that. Connor's awesome. He's really heavy into racing right now too. So getting his impressions on the trails themselves and as we're building is huge as a really heavy racer. He's our mechanic and doing it. So my own family jumping on board. I look around sometimes. I see what I've got here. I see like this dream come true, mountain bike park out of nowhere. And my kids now working with me, I get to see them all the time. They get older, you don't see your kids very often. So now they're forced to see me every day or they don't get a paycheck. So it's amazing. My daughter actually lives right up on the hill. So behind me here on top of Palomar Mountain is where her home is. So she came down even last month and had a campfire with us here. Her and her husband, Nolan, and me and my sons, we all just hung out. I'm like, we got to do this more often. Whole family's here. My gosh, I am extremely lucky.
Sounds like it. That all sounds super incredible. And it's, as we've said this whole time, not too far away from San Diego. So for those that, maybe coming from other areas, it's pretty easy place to fly into.
Easy to fly into. And before I go there, I need to mention my girlfriend, Susanna. If she ends up watching this and I don't say something about her, I'm definitely going to get smacked or have to sleep outside. So she's been a help. She comes and helps out wherever she can as well. And yes, she rides down these trails.
Yeah, we should almost re-record that, put her at the beginning, right?
Yeah, that's important. So it's pretty lucky for me too.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very awesome thing. Outside of the fact that you guys had a lot of rain in the winter, I'm assuming you do aim to be open for year round, correct?
Yeah, we're a year-round park. That is key. I'm sorry, I didn't even mention that earlier. That is a big thing for us, being year-round, because most of our competition, as you know, it shuts down so we can go snowboarding. I do go snowboarding there, but you don't get to ride your bike. So we are a year-round park. When the pavement is in, which should be in the fall this year, when the pavement is done, that will help a lot. A lot of our closed days this last winter were because we couldn't get riders to the top. It's the road that was unsafe. The trails can handle more than the road can. So having that in, being able to ride people up, will be open a lot more of the winter. People should plan on coming out all winter long.
Well, Steve, I really appreciate having you on today and you taking some time out of your Friday as you're getting into a holiday weekend. And hopefully the weather is beautiful out there and that you get a lot of riders.
Thank you very much. It is beautiful out here. So appreciate it, Josh.
So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please take the time to share these shows with others. Sharing these shows will help create awareness of both the guests who have taken the time to be on the show and the podcast series itself. Also, if you're new to the Trail Effect Podcast, check out our ever-expanding library of episodes. If you listen to the Trail Effect Podcast on Apple or Spotify, please don't forget to leave a rating and review, as this is one of the best ways to show your support for the Trail Effect Podcast. Also, don't forget to check out Cooley Creative at www.dudejustsendit.com. For additional ways to help support the Trail Effect podcast, check out the affiliate links tab at the Trail Effect website, where you'll find links to Kettle Mountain Apparel, Worldwide Cyclery, and Trail One components. By using the affiliate links found at www.traileffectpodcast.com, a small commission will come back to the podcast, which will help keep this thing going. This podcast has been edited and produced by Evolution Trail Services. Thank you again for listening.